The silence was thick enough to cut with a knife as Rosemary, her hands dusted with flour, stood firm. Across from her, the CEO of a massive grocery chain sneered. He was about to learn that even the smallest voice can ignite a revolution. Has anyone's quiet act of bravery ever changed your world? Share your story in the comments below. And subscribe to see how one woman's kindness reshaped an entire industry. This story is just getting started. The restaurant froze in fear when the masked man stormed in. Dishes rattled, voices broke, and hearts pounded against silence. But the waitress, she didn't scream, she didn't run, she stood calm, steady as stone, eyes locked on the danger, protecting every soul behind her. The millionaire at the corner table saw it all. Her courage, her control, her refusal to let fear own the room. And when the dust settled, what he did next shocked the world and went viral overnight. But here's what I need to know. Have you ever witnessed someone's courage change everything around them? Someone who stayed calm when everyone else fell apart? Drop a comment below and tell me about it. And if this story already has you wondering what happens next, hit that subscribe button because this tale of quiet bravery and unexpected love is just getting started. The lunch rush at Mama Rose's Italian restaurant was in full swing when everything changed. Steam rose from plates of pasta, conversations mixed with a clatter of silverware, and the smell of garlic bread filled the warm air. 24-year-old Kendra Washington moved between tables with practiced grace, her brown eyes bright with genuine care for every customer she served. At table 12 in the corner sat Harrison Blake, though none of the staff knew his name or that he was worth $3 billion. To them, he was just another businessman in an expensive suit, quietly eating his lunch while typing on his phone. Harrison had discovered this small restaurant 3 months ago and came here twice a week, drawn by the authentic food and the kind service, especially from the waitress with the beautiful smile who always remembered how he liked his coffee. Kendra had noticed the handsome stranger, too. He was different from most customers. Polite, never demanding, and he always left generous tips. She guessed he was around 35 with kind brown eyes and an easy smile that made her heart skip just a little. Not that she had time for romance. Between working double shifts and caring for her sick grandmother, life kept her too busy for dating. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows when the door chimed. Kendra looked up from taking an order, expecting to see another customer. Instead, a man in a dark hoodie and sunglasses stepped inside. Something about him made her pause. His movements were too quick, too nervous. His hand shook as he shoved them deep in his pockets. Everyone down on the ground now. The words cut through the friendly chatter like ice. Conversation stopped. Forks dropped. A woman at table 6 gasped and covered her mouth with trembling fingers. The man pulled his hoodie forward, hiding more of his face. I said, "Get down, all of you. This is a robbery." Chaos erupted. Customers screamed and dove under tables. Chairs scraped against the floor as people scrambled for safety. The elderly couple at table 3 clutched each other, tears streaming down their faces. A mother pulled her young daughter close, both shaking with terror. But Kendra didn't move. She stood perfectly still in the center of the restaurant, her notepad still in her hand. Her breathing was steady, her expression calm. While everyone else lost control, she remained focused on the frightened man before her. Harrison watched from his corner table, amazed. He had seen EOs crumble under far less pressure. Military leaders panic in crisis meetings, yet this young waitress faced real danger with extraordinary composure. "Miss, you need to get down," the robber said, his voice cracking. Up, Kendra could see he was young, maybe 20. His eyes were red and desperate. "What's your name?" Kendra asked softly. "What?" He seemed confused by the question. "Your name?" "I'm Kendra." Her voice was gentle, like she was talking to a scared child instead of someone threatening her workplace. I don't. Just give me the money from the register." Kendra nodded slowly. "Okay, I can do that. But first, tell me your name." The young man's hand trembled as he wiped sweat from his forehead. "Tommy, it's Tommy. Nice to meet you, Tommy. Are you hungry? You look like you haven't eaten in a while." Harrison couldn't believe what he was witnessing. Instead of giving the robber what he wanted, Kendra was treating him like a person, like someone who mattered. "I don't want food," Tommy said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. "I need money. My mom, she's sick, real sick. The hospital says if we don't pay soon." "I understand," Kendra said, taking a small step closer. "My grandmother is sick, too. It's scary when someone you love needs help, and you don't know how to get it." Tommy's shoulders sagged, the desperation in his eyes mixed with something else. Hope that someone finally understood. "But this isn't the way, Tommy. This won't really help your mom." "Then what am I supposed to do?" The words came out like a sob. "Nobody cares. Nobody helps." "I don't know what else to do." Kendra reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a crumpled $20 bill for tipped money from the morning shift. "Here, take this. $20 won't save my mom." "No, but it will buy her medicine for today. And tomorrow we'll figure out tomorrow." Tommy stared at the money, then at Kendra's kind face. Slowly, he reached out and took the 20. "Why are you being nice to me? I just threatened you." "Because you're scared and you love your mom. That doesn't make you a bad person." "Tommy, that makes you human." The restaurant was completely silent now. Even the customers hiding under tables had stopped whimpering to listen to this incredible conversation. Tommy pulled back his hood, revealing a thin face marked by worry and sleepless nights. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He looked around the restaurant at all the frightened faces. I'm sorry to everyone. I didn't want to scare you. I didn't know what else to do. It's okay, Kendra said. We all make mistakes when we're desperate. What matters is what you do next. Tommy nodded and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he turned back. Thank you, Kendra, for seeing me as a person. After he left, the restaurant remained quiet for several heartbeats. Then slowly, people began to emerge from their hiding places. The elderly couple from table 3 approached Kendra with tears in their eyes. Young lady, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen, the old man said. Not brave, Kendra replied, straightening the tables that had been overturned in a panic. Just necessary. Harrison sat in wonder, watching this remarkable woman return to work as if nothing extraordinary had happened. She checked on every customer, made sure everyone was okay, and refused to let anyone leave without finishing their meal. The least we can do is eat together after what we've been through, she told them with a smile that somehow made the fear disappear. When the last customer finally left, Kendra began cleaning up the mess. Harrison remained at his table, unable to process what he had witnessed. In his world of boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, he had never seen courage like this. Pure selfless, instinctive kindness in the face of danger. Sir, are you all right? Kendra approached his table, concern evident in her voice. I know that was frightening. Can I get you anything? Some water? Coffee? Harrison looked up at her. This incredible woman who had turned a robbery into a moment of human connection. How did you do that? Do what? Stay so calm. Help that young man instead of just giving him what he wanted. Kendra shrugged, wiping down his table. He wasn't really a robber. He was just a son trying to save his mother. Sometimes people do desperate things when they feel hopeless. But you could have been hurt, maybe, but he could have been hurt. Too, hurting someone else wasn't going to help his situation. Harrison pulled out his phone and scrawled to his notes app. What's your full name? Kendra Washington. Why? Because what you did today. The world needs to see it. People need to know that heroes don't always wear capes. Kendra laughed, a sound like music after the tension of the afternoon. I'm not a hero, Mr. Blake. Harrison Blake. And yes, you are. That evening, Harrison sat in his penthouse office overlooking the city. He had already spoken with his security team about the restaurant footage. The cameras had captured everything: Kendra's incredible composure, her kindness to Tommy, the way she had transformed terror into understanding. He thought about her grandmother, sick and probably struggling with medical bills just like Tommy's mother. He thought about Kendra working double shifts, giving her tip money to a stranger, caring for everyone around her while probably neglecting her own needs. Harrison had built his fortune by recognizing potential where others saw problems. Today, he had seen something far more valuable than any business opportunity. He had seen genuine goodness in action. By midnight, he had made his decision. The video would go online tomorrow, but that was just the beginning. Kendra Washington had shown him what real courage looked like. Now it was his turn to show her what gratitude could accomplish. As he looked out at the city lights, Harrison smiled. He had a feeling his life was about to change in ways he never imagined. And it all started with a waitress who refused to let fear win. Kendra woke up to her phone buzzing nonstop on her nightstand. Half asleep, she grabbed it and squinted at the screen. Hundreds of notifications flooded her lock screen: missed calls, text messages, social media alerts she didn't even know she had set up. What in the world, she mumbled, sitting up in her small bedroom. The morning light filtered through her thin curtains, and she could hear her grandmother coughing in the next room. The first text was from her friend Nicole. Girl, you're famous. Check your Facebook right now. Confused, Kendra opened the app she rarely used. Her heart nearly stopped. A video titled, "Waitress Shows Incredible Courage During Restaurant Robbery" had been shared thousands of times overnight. The view count was climbing so fast she could watch the numbers change. Her phone rang. Nicole's name appeared on the screen. Kendra, are you seeing this? The video has over 2 million views already, and it's only been up for 12 hours. What video, Nicole? I don't understand what's happening. The robbery yesterday. Someone recorded the whole thing. You're all over the internet and people are calling you the angel waitress. Kendra's hand shook as she pressed play on the video. There she was, standing calmly in the center of Mama Rose's, talking to Tommy like he was a friend instead of a threat. The footage was clear, capturing every word of their conversation, every moment of her kindness. The comment section made her eyes water. This woman restored my faith in humanity. In a world full of hate, be like Kendra. Someone find this angel and help her like she helped that young man. True courage looks like this. By the time she made it to her grandmother's room with morning medicine, local news trucks were already parked outside their apartment building. Grandma Rose. Something crazy is happening, Kendra said, helping her grandmother sit up in bed. Rose Washington, 78 years old with silver hair and wise brown eyes that mirrored her granddaughter's, smiled weakly. I saw the news, baby girl. My granddaughter is famous. This is insane. All I did was talk to a scared kid. You showed him love when he expected hate. That's not small, Kendra. That's everything. A knock on the door interrupted them. Kendra peeked through the peephole and saw a woman in a business suit holding a microphone with a cameraman beside her. Miss Washington, I'm Rebecca Chen from Channel 7 News. Could we speak with you about yesterday's incident? For the next 3 hours, Kendra gave interview after interview. Each reporter asked the same questions. How did you stay so calm? What made you help the robber? Are you trained in crisis management? The honest answers felt too simple. She stayed calm because panicking wouldn't help anyone. She helped Tommy because he needed help. She wasn't trained in anything except caring about people. By noon, the video had 10 million views. By evening, it was trending worldwide with hashtags like Angel Waitress, Kindness Matters, and Become Like Kendra. Kendra's phone rang constantly. Talk show producers wanted her as a guest. Magazines requested interviews. A movie producer called asking about film rights to her story. But the call that mattered most came at 7 p.m. Ms. Washington, this is Harrison Blake. Kendra recognized the voice immediately. The quiet businessman from Table 12. Mr. Blake, how did you get my number? I apologize for the intrusion. I wanted to check on you after today. I imagine this attention has been overwhelming. That's an understatement. Mr. Blake, did you post that video? Yes. I hope you can forgive me for doing it without permission. I felt the world needed to see what real courage looks like. Kendra sank into her grandmother's worn recliner. Why? Why did you think it was important? Because in my line of work, I see a lot of people who talk about values but don't live them. Yesterday, you didn't just talk about kindness or courage, you embodied them. People need to see that it's possible. What line of work are you in exactly? There was a pause. I run a technology company. Nothing as important as what you do. Kendra almost laughed. Mr. Blake, I serve pasta and coffee. You make it sound like I'm saving the world. Aren't you? One person at a time. That night, Kendra lay awake thinking about the day's events. The video had brought attention she never wanted, but it had also brought something unexpected: hope. People from around the world were sharing their own stories of kindness. Others were volunteering at shelters, helping neighbors, looking for ways to make a difference. Maybe Harrison Blake was right. Maybe small acts of love could save the world one person at a time. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for being kind to me yesterday. My mom got the help she needed. The video made people want to help us. You changed everything, Tommy. Kendra smiled in the darkness. Whatever happened next? She was grateful the story had a happy ending for the young man who just wanted to save his mother. She had no idea that her own happy ending was just beginning. The next morning brought more surprises. A delivery truck parked outside their apartment building and workers began unloading flowers, gift baskets, and care packages addressed to Kendra Washington. This is from a family in Japan who saw your video, the delivery man explained, handing her a beautiful arrangement of cherry blossoms. This one's from a school in Ohio where students collected money for your grandmother's medical care. Kendra's eyes filled with tears as she read card after card from strangers who had been moved by her story. Children had drawn pictures of her. Elderly people had knitted scarves and blankets. A group of teenagers had organized a fundraiser. But the most surprising delivery came at noon. A man in an expensive suit carrying a single envelope. Ms. Washington, I represent Mr. Harrison Blake. He asked me to deliver this personally. Inside the envelope was a simple white card and a check that made Kendra's knees weak. The amount was enough to cover her grandmother's medical bills for the next 5 years. The card read, "Thank you for showing me what true wealth looks like. Please accept this small token of gratitude. It be." Kendra stared at the check, her hands trembling. She had never seen so many zeros in her life. This wasn't a small token. This was life-changing money. But could she accept it? Did she have the right to take such a generous gift from someone she barely knew? Her grandmother's voice called weakly from the bedroom. Kendra, honey, is everything all right out there? Looking at the check, then toward her grandmother's room, where medicine bottles lined the nightstand and medical bills covered the kitchen table. Kendra realized this wasn't about her pride. This was about accepting help when it was offered with genuine kindness. She picked up her phone and dialed Harrison Blake's number. Mr. Blake, I got your gift. I hope you'll accept it. Your grandmother's health is more important than my bank balance. I don't know how to thank you. You already did yesterday when you showed the world what goodness looks like. But here's what I'm wondering. How many of us would have the courage to accept such a gift? To let someone help us when pride tells us to say no? If you're following this story because you believe in the power of unexpected kindness, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens when these two very different worlds start to collide. As Kendra hung up the phone holding a check that would change her life, she had no idea that Harrison Blake was already planning their next meeting. And this time he wouldn't be hiding behind the anonymity of Table 12. 3 days after accepting Harrison's generous gift, Kendra returned to work at Mama Rose's. She had asked for time off to handle the media attention, but staying home felt wrong when her coworkers were handling extra shifts to cover for her. The restaurant looked different now. A small plaque by the door read, "Home of the Angel Waitress," and tour groups had started including it in their downtown walk-in tours. Kendra cringed every time someone pointed at her through the window. "Our little celebrity is back," called Tony the head cook as she tied her apron. "You know that corner table has been asking for you all week." Kendra looked toward table 12 and felt her heart skip. Harrison Blake sat in his usual spot. But today he wasn't hiding behind his phone. Instead, he was reading a newspaper, and when he saw her looking, he smiled and waved. "I'll take 12, she told Tony, grabbing her notepad with suddenly nervous fingers. As she approached, Harrison stood up, something he had never done before. Today he looked less like a businessman and more like a man on a first date. His tie was gone, his shirt sleeves were rolled up, and his smile was warm and genuine. "Miss Washington, it's good to see you back. Please call me Kendra. And thank you again for everything. My grandmother started her new treatment yesterday. How is she feeling?" "Better already. The doctors say with proper care, she could have many more good years." Kendra's voice caught with emotion. "I can never repay you for that gift. There's nothing to repay. But there is something I'd like to ask you." Kendra pulled out her notepad. "Assuming you wanted to order, what can I get you today?" Harrison laughed, a rich sound that made her stomach flutter. "Actually, I was hoping you might join me for dinner. Not here somewhere we could talk without interruption." The question caught her completely off guard. "Are you asking me on a date, Mr. Blake?" "Harrison. And yes, I suppose I am, unless that makes you uncomfortable given our unusual circumstances." Kendra looked around the restaurant. Several customers were watching their conversation with obvious interest. The whole situation felt surreal. A wealthy stranger asking her out after giving her family a fortune. "I don't know anything about you except that you're incredibly generous," she said honestly. "Then let me tell you about myself over dinner. What do you say?" Every practical part of her brain said this was a bad idea. They were from different worlds. She was a waitress who lived paycheck to paycheck. He was someone who could write life-changing checks without blinking. What could they possibly have in common? But when she looked into his kind brown eyes, those practical thoughts quieted. This was the man who had seen her moment of courage and wanted to share it with the world. Who had helped her family without expecting anything in return. "Okay," she said, "I'd like that." Harrison's face lit up. "Really? That's wonderful. Are you free Saturday evening?" "I work until 6:00. "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7:00. That Saturday, Kendra spent 2 hours trying to find something appropriate to wear from her limited wardrobe. Everything she owned was casual work clothes, comfortable jeans, a few simple dresses for church. Finally, she settled on a navy blue dress that her grandmother had bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. "You look beautiful, baby girl," Grandma Rose said from her bed where she was looking stronger than she had in months. "This Harrison fellow, he seems like a good man." "How can you tell? You've never met him. Any man who helps your family without expecting anything back has a good heart. Besides, I see how you smile when you talk about him." At exactly 7:00 p.m., a sleek black car pulled up outside their apartment building. Kendra had expected something fancy, but she wasn't prepared for the actual limousine that waited at the curb. Harrison stepped out wearing a perfectly tailored suit, and Kendra suddenly felt underdressed in her simple dress. But when he saw her, his expression made her feel like she was wearing a ball gown. "You look absolutely stunning," he said, offering his arm. The restaurant was unlike anywhere Kendra had ever been. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over white tablecloths and fresh flowers. The menu had no prices, which immediately made her nervous. "Harrison, this place looks expensive." "Don't worry about that. Order whatever you'd like." As they talked over dinner, Kendra began to understand who Harrison Blake really was. He told her about building his technology company from nothing, about the long hours and difficult decisions that came with success. But he also talked about feeling disconnected from real life, surrounded by people who wanted something from him. "When I saw you with Tommy, it reminded me of why I started my company in the first place," he said. "I wanted to help people to make a difference. Somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that." "What kind of technology does your company make?" Kendra asked. Harrison paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Software. Mostly applications that help businesses run more efficiently." He was being modest. She realized the way he talked about his work suggested something much bigger than simple business software. "What about you?" he asked. "Have you always wanted to be a waitress?" Kendra laughed. "That's probably the first time anyone's asked me that question seriously. No, I wanted to be a teacher. I was studying elementary education before my grandmother got sick." "What happened?" "I had to drop out to take care of her and work enough hours to pay for her medicine. The waitressing was supposed to be temporary, but temporary became 2 years. Harrison's expression grew serious. "Would you go back to school if you could?" "I don't know, maybe. I love children and I think I'd be good at teaching. But life has a way of changing your plans. Life also has a way of giving you second chances when you least expect them." The evening flew by. They talked about books, movies, travel dreams. and childhood memories. Kendra found herself laughing more than she had in years. Harrison was funny and smart, but he was also genuinely interested in her thoughts and opinions. When he drove her home, he walked her to the door like a perfect gentleman. "I had a wonderful time tonight," she said. "So did I. Kendra, would you like to do this again?" She looked up at his hopeful face and felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't just gratitude anymore. She was genuinely attracted to this kind, generous man. "Yes, I'd like that very much." He leaned down and kissed her cheek softly. "Good night, Kendra," as she watched his car disappear down the street. Kendra touched her cheek where his lips had been. She was falling for Harrison Blake, and that scared her more than any robbery ever could. Inside her apartment, Grandma Rose was waiting with a cup of tea and knowing eyes. "How was your date, baby girl?" "It was perfect, and that's what worries me." "Why would perfect worry you?" Kendra sank into the chair beside her grandmother's bed. "Because he's not just some regular guy, Grandma. He's wealthy, beyond anything I can imagine. What if he gets tired of playing with the poor waitress? What if this is all just entertainment to him?" Rose took her granddaughter's hand. "What if it's not? What if he sees in you what the rest of us have always seen? A beautiful, kind, intelligent woman who deserves to be loved. But we're so different." "Different doesn't mean incompatible. Your grandfather and I came from different worlds, too. He was a college graduate. I never finished high school. He spoke proper English. I had a country accent. People said we wouldn't last 6 months. How long were you married?" 52 years until the day he died." Rose squeezed Kendra's hand. "Love doesn't care about bank accounts or education levels. Honey, love cares about character. And from what you've told me, this man has good character." That night, Kendra lay in bed thinking about her grandmother's words. Maybe love really didn't care about differences. Maybe she was overthinking everything. Her phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. "Thank you for a perfect evening. Sweet dreams, Kendra." She smiled and typed back, "Thank you for dinner and for making me laugh. Good night, Harrison." As she drifted off to sleep, Kendra allowed herself to imagine a future where love was enough to bridge any gap between two different worlds. She had no idea that Harrison was lying awake in his penthouse, thinking the exact same thing. 2 weeks of regular dates had turned into something neither Kendra nor Harrison had expected. Genuine friendship mixed with growing romantic feelings. They met for coffee before her shifts, shared late dinners after the restaurant closed, and spent hours walking through the city talking about everything and nothing. Harrison had still been modest about his wealth, describing himself as comfortable and deflecting questions about his business. Kendra suspected there was more to his story, but she didn't push. Everyone had a right to privacy. That changed on a Tuesday afternoon when Grandma Rose had a bad reaction to her new medication. Kendra was at work when her phone rang. The caller ID showed the name of their neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. "Kendra, honey, you need to come home right now. The ambulance just took your grandmother to St. Mary's Hospital." She collapsed in the hallway. Fear gripped Kendra as hard as she grabbed her purse. "Tony, I have to go. It's my grandmother." Go. Tony waved her away. "Family comes first." At the hospital, Kendra paced the emergency room waiting area, her hands shaking as she tried to call Harrison. He had become such an important part of her life in just a few weeks that calling him felt natural. "Kendra, what's wrong? You sound upset." "It's my grandmother. She's in the emergency room. I don't know what happened and they won't tell me anything because I'm not officially her next of kin and the paperwork is all confused," and she broke down crying. "Which hospital?" "St. Mary's. I'll be right there." 20 minutes later, Harrison arrived, still wearing his business suit, but looking completely focused on her. He pulled her into his arms without hesitation. "What did the doctor say?" "Nothing yet. They're running tests." "Harrison, I'm so scared. She's all I have left in this world." "She's going to be okay. And you're not alone, Kendra. I'm here." Over the next hour, as they sat in uncomfortable plastic chairs waiting for news, Kendra found herself leaning on Harrison's strength. He held her hand, brought her coffee, and somehow managed to get the medical staff to provide regular updates. "How did you get them to talk to us?" she asked after a nurse explained Rose's condition in detail. "I made a few calls," he said simply. Dr. Martinez finally emerged with cautiously good news. Mrs. Washington had an allergic reaction to her new heart medication. "We've stabilized her, but she needs to stay for observation. She's asking for you." Kendra, in the hospital room, Grandma Rose looked small and fragile, connected to monitoring equipment, but her eyes were alert when she saw Kendra and Harrison enter together. "There's my baby girl and you must be Harrison." "Yes, ma'am. It's nice to finally meet you. Kendra talks about you constantly." Rose smiled weakly. "She talks about you too. Thank you for being here for her today. There's nowhere else I'd rather be." Over the next 3 days, while Rose recovered in the hospital, Harrison barely left Kendra's side. He brought her meals, comfortable clothes from home and somehow arranged for her to have unlimited visiting hours. "Harrison, you don't have to stay here," Kendra said on the second night as they sat beside Rose's bed. "You must have important work to do. Nothing is more important than being here with you. But your business can run without me for a few days. My team is very capable." It was then that Kendra began to realize the scale of what Harrison had been downplaying. A business that could run without its owner for days wasn't a small company. The way hospital administrators treated him with difference, the private room Rose had been moved to due to availability, the specialist consultations that appeared without being requested, these weren't normal courtesies. On the third evening, after the doctors confirmed that Rose could go home the next day, Kendra confronted Harrison in the hospital cafeteria. "Who are you really?" she asked directly. Harrison looked up from his untouched sandwich. "What do you mean?" "I mean, this isn't just about being comfortable financially. The way people treat you, the strings you can pull, the fact that you can just not show up to work for 3 days without consequences. I looked you up online today." Harrison's face grew serious. "What did you find?" "Blake Technologies $3 billion valuation. Harrison Blake, CEO and founder. Forbes, 30 under 30, then 40 under 40, philanthropist, one of the youngest billionaires in America." She paused. "You're not just wealthy, Harrison. You're one of the richest men in the country. Does that change things between us?" "I don't know. Maybe. Why didn't you tell me?" Harrison pushed his sandwich away and leaned forward. "Because I wanted you to know me as Harrison the man. Not Harrison the billionaire. I wanted you to like me for who I am, not what I have. But don't you think I had a right to know? I've been worrying about being good enough for someone comfortable. I had no idea I was dating someone who could buy this entire hospital. I could buy it, but I'd rather spend my money helping your grandmother get the best possible care, which by the way I've already arranged." Kendra stared at him. "What do you mean?" "The cardiac specialist who examined her today. He's the best in the state. The private room. I'm covering the costs. The experimental treatment they want to try. Already approved and paid for." "Harrison, you can't just." "Yes, I can. And I will because I care about you, Kendra, and your grandmother is important to you." Tears filled her eyes. "This is too much. The check was already more than I could accept. And now this." "Then don't think of it as charity. Think of it as what someone does when they're falling in love." The words hung in the air between them. Harrison had said what they had both been feeling, but neither had dared to voice. "You're falling in love with me," Kendra whispered. "I think I fell in love with you the moment you showed kindness to Tommy instead of fear. Everything since then has just confirmed what I already knew. You're the most remarkable woman I've ever met." Kendra felt her heart racing. "Harrison, you don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to understand why I want to help. It's not about the money. It's about loving someone and wanting to take care of them." Looking into his sincere brown eyes, Kendra felt her resistance crumbling. This man had seen her at her most ordinary, serving coffee and pasta, and somehow found her extraordinary. He had wealth beyond her imagination, but he had chosen to spend his time sitting in an uncomfortable hospital chair just to be near her. "I'm falling in love with you too," she admitted, "and that terrifies me." "Why?" "Because I don't know how to be loved by someone like you. I don't know the rules of your world. I don't know if I can be what you need." Harrison reached across the table and took her hands. "Kendra, I don't need you to be anyone other than exactly who you are. The woman who stays calm in a crisis, who shows kindness to strangers, who works double shifts to take care of her grandmother, who makes me laugh and think and want to be a better person. That's all I need. What if the differences between us are too big to overcome? Then we'll build bridges together." The next morning, as they prepared to take Rose home from the hospital, Kendra made a decision. She accepted Harrison's help with gratitude instead of guilt. She accepted his love with an open heart instead of fear. "Thank you," she told him as they helped Rose into the wheelchair. "For everything, for caring about my grandmother, for being patient with my fears, for seeing something in me worth loving. Thank you for letting me in," he replied. "Both of you." Rose, who had been quietly observing this exchange, smiled knowingly. "I like this one, Kendra. He's got good eyes. Kind eyes. I like him, too, Grandma." "Good. Now, let's go home so I can cook this young man a proper meal. Hospital food is terrible." As they left St. Mary's Hospital together, Kendra felt like they were walking into a new chapter of their lives. The gap between their worlds hadn't disappeared, but love was building the first bridge across it. 3 weeks later, Harrison invited Kendra to attend a charity gala with him. The Blake Foundation was launching a new initiative to provide healthcare access in underserved communities, and he wanted her by his side for the announcement. "I don't have anything to wear to something like that," Kendra protested when he showed her the elegant invitation. "Then we'll find you something. This is important to me, Kendra. I want the people in my world to meet the woman who inspired this entire program. I inspired it. Watching you care for Tommy, seeing how you put your grandmother's needs before your own, understanding what it means when healthcare is a luxury instead of a right. Yes, you inspired it." The next day, Harrison took her shopping on Fifth Avenue. Kendra felt overwhelmed walking into stores where a single dress cost more than she used to make in a month. "Harrison, these prices are insane." "Don't look at the prices. Just find something that makes you feel beautiful." With the help of a personal shopper named Patricia, Kendra found herself trying on gowns she had only seen in magazines. When she emerged from the dressing room wearing a deep emerald dress that hugged her curves perfectly, Harrison's expression made her feel like a queen. "That's the one," he said softly. "It's too expensive. It's perfect. And money spent on making you happy is the best investment I've ever made." The night of the gala, Kendra barely recognized herself in the mirror. Professional hair and makeup had transformed her into someone who looked like she belonged at a high society event. But as their limousine pulled up to the luxury hotel, her confidence wavered. "What if I say the wrong thing? What if I embarrass you?" Harrison took her hand. "Impossible. Just be yourself and everyone will love you as much as I do." The ballroom was like stepping into a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above perfectly dressed couples. String quartet music mixed with the sound of champagne glasses and sophisticated conversation. "Harrison, darling," a woman in a designer gown approached them with air kisses. "We've all been dying to meet your mysterious girlfriend, Victoria. I'd like you to meet Kendra Washington." "Kendra, this is Victoria Sterling. She chairs the hospital board. Nice to meet you," Kendra said, accepting Victoria's manicured hand. "Oh, you're the waitress from the video. How fascinating." Victoria's smile was polite but cold. "I'm sure this must all be very exciting for you." The condescension in her tone was subtle but unmistakable. Kendra felt her cheeks burn. "It's certainly different from what I'm used to," she replied diplomatically. As the evening progressed, Kendra encountered more of the same. People were polite to her face but whispered behind her back. She caught fragments of conversations. "Gold digger, obviously. How long before he gets bored? She's pretty enough." But really, Harrison was busy mingling with donors and board members. Unaware of the subtle hostility his girlfriend was facing, Kendra smiled and made small talk. But inside she felt like an imposter. The worst moment came during cocktail hour when she overheard Victoria talking to a group of women near the bar. "I give it 6 months," Victoria was saying. "These charity cases never last. He'll get tired of playing savior and find someone more appropriate." Kendra's heart sank. Was that how people saw her, as Harrison's charity case? When Harrison returned to her side, she tried to hide her distress. "How's the fundraising going?" "Incredibly well. We've already raised $2 million tonight." He noticed her forced smile. "Are you okay? You look upset." "I'm fine, just tired." But she wasn't fine. Throughout dinner, as speaker after speaker praised Harrison's philanthropy and business acumen, Kendra felt smaller and smaller. These people discussed million-dollar donations and global business strategies as casually as she talked about daily specials at the restaurant. When Harrison was called to the stage to announce the new healthcare initiative, he surprised everyone by asking Kendra to join him. "The Blake Foundation's mission has always been to use technology to solve human problems," he said into the microphone. "But recently I met someone who reminded me that the most important technology is human compassion." He told the story of the restaurant incident, of Kendra's courage and kindness. "She showed me that real change happens one person at a time, one act of kindness at a time." Tonight, I'm proud to announce that the Blake Foundation will be opening 20 free clinics in underserved communities over the next 2 years. The audience applauded politely, but Kendra could feel their skepticism. She was the inspiration for a multi-million-dollar initiative. But to them she was still just the waitress who got lucky. After the announcement, as they mingled with more donors, a distinguished older man approached them. "Harrison, impressive announcement tonight, and you must be the famous angel waitress." "Kendra Washington," she said, extending her hand. "Robert Chin, I run Chin Industries. Tell me, what's your background in healthcare policy?" "I don't have one. I'm just someone who's seen what happens when people can't afford medical care." "I see. And what's your educational background?" "I studied elementary education for 2 years before I had to drop out." Robert's expression shifted slightly. "How interesting. Well, I'm sure your unique perspective will be valuable." After he walked away, Kendra excused herself to the ladies' room. She needed a moment to collect herself before she said something that would embarrass Harrison. In the elegant powder room, she overheard 2 women touching up their makeup. "Did you see how out of place she looks? I feel sorry for Harrison. He's obviously infatuated, but she's completely wrong for him. She seems sweet enough. But imagine bringing her to board meetings or international conferences. She'd be lost." Kendra locked herself in a stall and fought back tears. They were right, weren't they? She was lost. She didn't belong in this world of wealth and power and influence. When she returned to the ballroom, Harrison was deep in conversation with several other EOs about emerging markets and regulatory challenges. She stood beside him, smiling when appropriate, but understanding maybe half of what they discussed. "What do you think, Kendra?" one of the men asked suddenly about the impact of AI on healthcare accessibility. Every eye turned to her. She felt her face flush with embarrassment. "I don't really know enough about AI to have an informed opinion." "Of course not," the man said with a patronizing smile. "I forgot you're not in the tech industry." The ride home was quiet. Harrison sensed something was wrong but didn't push her to talk. It wasn't until they reached her apartment building that Kendra finally spoke. "I don't think I'm right for your world, Harrison." "What do you mean?" "Tonight, listening to all those people, seeing how they looked at me. I'm out of my league. They all think I'm some charity case you're helping. Who cares what they think? You should. These are your peers, your business associates. How can you build professional relationships when people don't take your girlfriend seriously? Harrison turned to face her fully. Kendra, those people don't matter to me. You do, but they matter for your business, your foundation, your future. You need partners and donors and board members. You can't have someone by your side who makes them uncomfortable. I can have anyone I want by my side, and I want you. Even if it hurts your career, my career exists to serve my values, not the other way around. And you, Kendra Washington, represent everything I value most. Despite his reassuring words, as Kendra walked up to her apartment that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that love might not be enough to bridge the gap between their worlds. Some distances were too great for even the strongest bridges to span. Despite her doubts after the gala, Kendra couldn't stay away from Harrison. Their connection was too strong, their feelings too real. Over the next month, they found ways to blend their different worlds that felt more natural. Instead of fancy restaurants, they had picnics in the park. Rather than gallery openings, they visited the children's museum where Kendra could share her love of teaching. Harrison traded his business suits for jeans and t-shirts when they spent time together, and Kendra began to see more of the man behind the billionaire image. I want to show you where I work, Harrison said one Saturday morning as they shared coffee and breakfast at her kitchen table. Grandma Rose had been having a good week and was sitting with them regaling Harrison with stories from Kendra's childhood. Your office? Kendra asked. The real work, the foundation's new clinic. We're opening the first one next week. The clinic was in a neighborhood not unlike where Kendra grew up. Working families struggling to make ends meet, elderly residents who couldn't afford proper health care, children who needed basic medical services their parents couldn't provide. This is incredible, Kendra said as Harrison showed her through the bright, welcoming facility. It looks like the expensive private clinics, but it's free. Completely free, and we're hiring staff from the community when possible. People who understand the needs here. In the pediatric wing, Kendra stopped at a colorful reading corner filled with books and comfortable chairs. You remembered, she said softly. Remembered what? That I wanted to be a teacher. This space, it's perfect for reading to children while they wait. Harrison smiled. Actually, I was hoping you might consider running our education program. We want to offer literacy classes for adults, tutoring for children, DED preparation. I can't think of anyone better qualified, but I never finished my degree. You have something better than a degree. You have heart and experience and the ability to connect with people. Plus, the foundation would pay for you to complete your education if you want. Kendra stared at him. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a chance to use your gifts to help people. The teaching position at the restaurant, as wonderful as it's been, doesn't use your full potential. That afternoon, as they painted walls in what would become a classroom, Kendra felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Excitement about her future. Tell me about your family, she said as they worked side by side. I've shared so much about mine, but you rarely talk about yours. Harrison's brush paused against the wall. There's not much to say. My parents died in a car accident when I was 22. I was an only child, so it's just me. I'm sorry. That must have been so hard. It was, but it also motivated me to build something meaningful. They always taught me that privilege comes with responsibility. Is that why you started the foundation? Partly, but mostly I started it because success feels empty if you're not sharing it with people you care about. They worked in comfortable silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. When they finished painting, Harrison suggested they visit his penthouse so Kendra could see where he lived. The apartment was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern art on the walls, furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine, but it also felt cold and impersonal. It's beautiful, Kendra said, wandering around the spacious living room, but it doesn't feel like you. What do you mean? There are no personal touches, no family photos, no books that look well read, no evidence that someone actually lives here. Harrison looked around his own home as if seeing it for the first time. I suppose I never thought about making it feel like home. I'm not here much and I don't entertain often. That's sad. Home should be your sanctuary, the place where you can be completely yourself. I feel more at home in your grandmother's living room than I do here. Kendra walked to the windows and looked out at the city below. All those people living their lives struggling with their problems. Do you ever feel disconnected from them up here? I used to before I met you. He joined her at the window. You've changed how I see everything. Kendra, the money, the success, the recognition, none of it means anything if you're not connected to real life. What was your life like before? Before the restaurant, before me? Harrison leaned against the window. Meetings, mostly board meetings, investor meetings, strategy sessions. I worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week. I dated occasionally, but never anyone who wanted to know me rather than what I could do for them. That sounds lonely. It was. I didn't realize how lonely until I met someone I actually wanted to share my life with. That evening, Harrison insisted on cooking dinner for Kendra and Rose. Watching this billionaire fumble around their tiny kitchen, asking Rose for advice on seasoning and technique made Kendra fall even deeper in love with him. He's a keeper, Rose whispered while Harrison was focused on stirring the sauce. Any man who cares enough to learn your grandmother's recipes is serious about you. After dinner, as they sat on the small balcony sharing a piece of Rose's famous chocolate cake, Harrison brought up the job offer again. Have you thought about the position at the clinic? I'm scared, Kendra admitted. What if I'm not good at it? What if I let you down? Impossible. Do you know what I see when I look at you? A waitress from the wrong side of town. I see someone who stayed calm during a crisis, who showed compassion to a desperate stranger, who sacrificed her own education to care for her grandmother, who turns a simple restaurant into a place where people feel welcomed and valued. You're already a teacher, Kendra. You just need the right classroom. And if it doesn't work out, then we'll figure out something else together. Looking into his earnest face, illuminated by the soft porch light, Kendra felt her fears melting away. This man believed in her more than she believed in herself. Okay, she said, I'll do it. Harrison's face lit up with joy. Really? Really? But I want to finish my degree too. If the foundation is going to invest in me, I want to be worth that investment. You already are. But I'm proud of you for wanting to complete your education. As they sat together in the warm evening air, Kendra felt like they were building something real and lasting. Not just a relationship between a billionaire and a waitress, but a partnership between two people who shared the same values and dreams. She had no idea that their happiness was about to face its biggest test yet. Kendra's transition from waitress to education coordinator at the Blake Foundation Clinic went smoothly. She loved working with children and adults who were eager to learn, and her natural teaching ability flourished in the supportive environment Harrison had created. For 2 months, they managed to keep their relationship relatively private. Kendra moved through her new world quietly, focusing on her work and her continuing education classes. Harrison had enrolled her in an accelerated degree program that would let her finish her education while working. Then, someone sold their story to the tabloids. Kendra first learned about it when her phone started buzzing at 6 o'clock a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Text after text from friends and co-workers. Missed calls from numbers she didn't recognize. The first text she opened was from Nicole. Girl, check the internet now. With growing dread, Kendra opened her laptop. The headline on the gossip site made her stomach drop. Billionaire's charity case inside Harrison Blake's romance with his rescued waitress. The article was cruel and invasive. It detailed their relationship from the restaurant incident through the gala, painting Kendra as a gold digger who had manipulated Harrison's kindness into a lifestyle upgrade. Photos showed them at dinner walking through the park, entering his building together. But the worst part was the quotes from anonymous sources who claimed to know them both. She's obviously using him for his money. The whole sweet innocent act is just that, an act. Harrison's too naive to see he's being played. She went from serving him coffee to sleeping in his penthouse in just a few months. Everyone in their circle knows this won't last. She's not sophisticated enough for his world. Kendra's hand shook as she read comment after comment from strangers analyzing her appearance, her background, her motives. The video that had made her famous was being reframed as calculated manipulation rather than genuine kindness. Her phone rang. Harrison's name appeared on the screen. Kendra, I just saw the article. I'm so sorry. My security team is investigating who leaked this. It doesn't matter who leaked it, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. What matters is that it's out there. Everyone thinks I'm using you. Everyone who matters knows that's not true, do they? Harrison, these anonymous sources. They sound like people who know us. People from your world who've been watching and judging and waiting for the right moment to tear me down. None of that matters. What matters is what we know about ourselves. But as the day progressed, it became clear that public perception did matter. Reporters showed up at the clinic, disrupting the peaceful environment Kendra had worked so hard to create. Photographers followed her to school, to the grocery store, to visit her grandmother. The worst moment came when she arrived home that evening to find a reporter ambushing Rose on their front steps. Mrs. Washington, how do you feel about your granddaughter dating one of America's richest men? Do you think she's in love or just after his money? You leave my grandmother alone, Kendra snapped, pushing past the reporter to help Rose inside. Just one comment, Kendra. How does it feel to go from serving coffee to serving yourself to a billionaire's fortune? Inside their apartment, Rose was shaking with anger and exhaustion. Baby girl, this is too much. These people have no right to invade our privacy like this. I know, Grandma. I'm going to call Harrison. Maybe his lawyers can make them stop. But Harrison's solution made everything worse. I'm hiring a security detail for you and your grandmother, he announced when he arrived at their apartment that evening, and I think you should stay at my place until this dies down. Security guards, Harrison, that will just make everything look more dramatic, more suspicious. I don't care how it looks. I care about keeping you safe. Safe from what? Reporters asking questions. This is the price of dating someone like you, isn't it? My life becomes public property. It's temporary. These stories always blow over. Do they? Or do they just become part of your permanent record? The gold digger girlfriend who couldn't handle the spotlight. That night, the story spread to major news outlets. The narrative was irresistible. Poor waitress catches rich man's eye rises from poverty to privilege overnight. Some outlets were more sympathetic, focusing on Kendra's courage during the robbery and her work at the clinic. But others fed into the gold digger narrative with obvious glee. By the end of the week, Kendra felt like a prisoner in her own life. Security guards followed her everywhere. Paparazzi waited outside the clinic, disrupting her work with the children. Her education classes became impossible to attend without causing a scene. The breaking point came when she found out that someone had offered Tommy, the young man from the restaurant, money to trash her character in an interview. I told them, no, Tommy assured her over the phone. I told them, you saved my life and my mom's life, and I would never say anything bad about you. But Kendra, they offered me $50,000. There are going to be people who say yes to that kind of money. That night, Kendra made a decision that broke her heart, but felt necessary. She called Harrison and asked him to meet her at the park where they had their first picnic. I can't do this anymore, she said as they sat on the bench where they'd shared so many happy conversations. Can't do what this? The media attention, the security guards, the constant judgment. My grandmother can't even go to the mailbox without someone shoving a camera in her face. It will calm down, Kendra. These stories always do. And then what? We wait for the next one, the next invasion of privacy, the next round of people questioning my motives and my character. Who cares what strangers think? I do. I care that children at the clinic see their teachers surrounded by security guards and reporters. I care that my grandmother can't have peace in her own home. I care that people think I'm using you because you're not using me. You're loving me. Tears streamed down Kendra's face. I know that. You know that, but the world doesn't believe it. And maybe they're right to be suspicious. What do you mean? I mean, look at how my life has changed. 6 months ago I was struggling to pay for my grandmother's medicine. Now I'm living in a world of private security and charity galas. How is that not using your resources? Because you never asked for any of it. Because you tried to turn down my help. Because you're giving back more than you're taking. Am I? Or am I just making myself feel better about accepting a billionaire's charity? Harrison stared at her in shock. You don't really believe that. I don't know what I believe anymore. The media storm has made me question everything. Maybe we're just too different. Maybe love isn't enough to bridge the gap between our worlds. Kendra, please don't let them win. Don't let strangers destroy what we've built together. I'm not letting them win. I'm protecting what we have left. If I disappear from your life, the story dies. You can go back to your world and I can go back to mine. I don't want my world without you in it. And I don't want to be the reason your world becomes a circus. She stood up from the bench, her heart breaking with every step. I need some time to think, some space to figure out who I am when I'm not Harrison Blake's girlfriend. How long? I don't know, maybe forever. As she walked away from the park, leaving behind the man she loved and the future they had planned together, Kendra felt like she was drowning, but she also felt like she was finally able to breathe without cameras watching her every move. Behind her, Harrison sat alone on the bench where they had fallen in love, wondering how the best thing that had ever happened to him had become the most painful. 3 weeks of separation felt like 3 years. Kendra threw herself into her work at the clinic. But everything reminded her of Harrison. The children asked where Mr. Blake was. The reading corner he had designed especially for her felt empty without his presence. She had moved back into her tiny apartment with Grandma Rose, trading the security and comfort of Harrison's world for the familiar struggle of making ends meet. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was back to choosing between groceries and gas money, just like before Harrison entered her life. You're miserable, baby girl, Rose observed one evening as they shared a simple dinner of rice and beans. I'm fine. You're many things, but fine isn't one of them. When are you going to stop punishing yourself for falling in love? I'm not punishing myself. I'm being realistic. Did you see what they wrote about us today? Rose waved her hand dismissively. I stopped reading that garbage after the first week. Why are you still torturing yourself with it? Because it's not going away. Grandma, every day there's a new article analyzing our relationship, questioning my motives, predicting when he'll get tired of me. And you believe strangers over your own heart. I believe what I can see. Harrison's world and mine don't mix. The gala proved that. The media storm proved that. I don't belong there. Or maybe those people don't belong in your life. Meanwhile, Harrison was struggling with his own demons. Work felt meaningless without Kendra to share his successes with. The penthouse felt even more cold and empty than before. He found himself driving past her apartment building just hoping to catch a glimpse of her. His assistant, Patricia, finally confronted him after he missed his third board meeting in a week. Mr. Blake, with respect, you're falling apart. When's the last time you slept or ate a proper meal? I'm fine, Patricia. You're not fine. You're heartbroken, so do something about it. What am I supposed to do? She asked for space. She thinks our worlds are too different. Then prove her wrong. Show her that love is stronger than public opinion. How? I don't know, but sitting in your office feeling sorry for yourself isn't working. That afternoon, Harrison made a decision. He drove to the clinic where Kendra worked. prepared to fight for their relationship. But when he arrived, he found something that stopped him cold. Through the window of the education center, he watched Kendra teaching a group of children to read. Her face was animated, her smile genuine, her whole being focused on helping these kids discover the magic of words. She looked happy, truly happy, in a way he hadn't seen since before the media storm began. One of the children, a little girl with pigtails, raised her hand. "Miss Kendra, why don't you smile like you used to?" Kendra's expression faltered for just a moment. "What do you mean, sweetie? Before, when Mr. Harrison was here, you smiled all the time. Now you look sad even when you're smiling." Harrison's heart broke watching Kendra struggle to answer. She missed him, too. He could see it in the way her shoulders sagged, in the effort it took to maintain her cheerful demeanor. But he could also see something else. The peace in her movements, the absence of the tension that had consumed her during their last weeks together. Away from his world, she could simply be herself again. Maybe she was right. Maybe love wasn't enough to overcome the barriers between them. As he drove away without going inside, Harrison made another decision. If he couldn't be with Kendra, he could at least use his resources to make her life easier from a distance. The next week, Kendra received an unexpected call from the director of her degree program. "Miss Washington, I have wonderful news. An anonymous donor has established a scholarship that covers all remaining costs for your education. You won't owe anything for tuition, books, or fees." Kendra's heart sank. She knew exactly who the anonymous donor was. That afternoon, she found herself standing outside Blake Technologies, staring up at the gleaming building where Harrison worked. She hadn't been here since their separation, but she needed to see him face to face. The receptionist recognized her immediately. "Miss Washington, Mr. Blake isn't expecting you, but I'm sure he'll want to see you. Actually, could you just call him down? I'd rather talk in the lobby." 10 minutes later, Harrison stepped off the elevator. He looked tired, thinner than she remembered, but his face lit up when he saw her. "Kendra, you look..." He paused, searching for words. "You look beautiful. You look tired." "I haven't been sleeping well." They stood in the busy lobby, surrounded by his employees, but feeling completely alone together. "The scholarship," Kendra said. "You have to stop. I don't know what you're talking about." "Harrison, please, I can't keep accepting your help when we're not together. It's not fair to either of us. Your education is important. It shouldn't suffer because of our personal situation. But don't you see? This is exactly the problem. You keep trying to solve my problems with money, and I keep letting you. How is that different from what the tabloids are saying about me? Because your motives are pure. Because you never asked for any of it. Because you tried to give it all back, but I didn't give it back. I kept the scholarship just like I kept your help with my grandmother's medical bills. Maybe they're right about me. Maybe I am using you." "Stop." Harrison's voice was sharp. "Don't let them poison your mind against yourself. Then help me understand how this isn't exactly what they're saying it is. Rich man helps poor woman. Poor woman's life improves dramatically. How is that love instead of charity? Because charity doesn't hurt this much when it ends." The simple honesty of his words broke through Kendra's defenses. She could see the pain in his eyes, could feel her own heart responding to his proximity. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss you too. Every day. Every minute." But missing each other doesn't solve the fundamental problem. We're from different worlds, Harrison. The media storm proved that. No. It proved that some people are cruel and invasive. It didn't prove that we can't work. Didn't it? Look at us. We can't even have a conversation without attracting attention. She gestured around the lobby where several employees were pretending not to watch their reunion. "Then let's go somewhere private." "Where?" "Your penthouse where I feel like I'm playing dress up. My apartment where you have to hire security just to visit safely. There is no neutral ground for us. Harrison will create one." "How?" For once, Harrison didn't have an answer. The practical obstacles seemed insurmountable when laid out so starkly. "I should go," Kendra said, backing toward the door. "This is too hard." "Kendra, wait." She paused but didn't turn around. "I love you. That has to count for something." "It counts for everything," she said without looking back. "But sometimes love isn't enough." As she walked out of his building and his life for what felt like the final time, Kendra wondered if she was making the biggest mistake of her life or the most necessary decision. Behind her, Harrison stood in his lobby, surrounded by the empire he had built, understanding for the first time that all the money in the world couldn't buy him the one thing he wanted most. That night, both of them lay awake in their separate beds, wondering if they had just thrown away their only chance at true happiness. 2 months after their painful separation, Harrison was still struggling to move forward. Work had become his only escape, but even 12 whole days couldn't fill the void Kendra had left in his life. He had stopped going to the clinic, stopped driving by her apartment, stopped hoping she would call. Then Patricia knocked on his office door with an urgent expression. "Mr. Blake, you need to see this now." She handed him a tablet showing a news article with the headline, "Inside Scoop, How I Sold Out the Angel Waitress for Fame and Fortune." The byline made Harrison's blood run cold. Victoria Sterling, In the article, Victoria confessed to being the primary source for the tabloid stories that had destroyed his relationship with Kendra. She detailed how she had fed information to reporters, how she had orchestrated the media campaign designed to drive them apart. I couldn't stand watching Harrison throw his life away on some nobody waitress. Victoria wrote, he's one of the most eligible bachelors in the country, and she was obviously using him for his money. I thought if I could expose her true nature, he would come to his senses. The article went on to detail Victoria's manipulation tactics, hiring photographers to follow them, bribing restaurant staff for private information, even paying Tommy to consider giving negative interviews about Kendra. But my plan backfired, Victoria continued. Instead of exposing Kendra as a gold digger, I destroyed a genuine love story. After months of watching Harrison suffer, I realized I was wrong about everything. Kendra Washington never asked for his money. She tried to refuse his help multiple times. She worked hard at the clinic, contributed to the community, and clearly loved him for who he was, not what he had. I destroyed their happiness out of jealousy and snobbery, and I can't live with that guilt anymore. Harrison's hand shook as he finished reading. All those months of pain, all those doubts Kendra had harbored about herself, all the walls that had grown between them, it had all been orchestrated by someone he had considered a friend. Sir, what do you want to do? Patricia asked. I want to see Kendra right now. She might not want to see you. She has to. She needs to know the truth. Harrison grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, then stopped. This was too important to handle impulsively. Kendra deserved better than him showing up unannounced with a newspaper article. Patricia, cancel everything for the rest of the week and get me Detective Morrison. I want a full investigation into Victoria's actions. If she broke any laws, I want her prosecuted. What about Ms. Washington? I'm going to win her back, but I'm going to do it right this time. Meanwhile, across town, Kendra was having the worst day of her life. Her grandmother had been rushed to the hospital that morning after collapsing during breakfast. The doctors were running tests, but Rose's condition had been declining for weeks. Without Harrison's support system, navigating the medical bureaucracy was a nightmare. Insurance forms, waiting lists, specialists who wouldn't see Rose without substantial deposits. All the barriers that Harrison's money had removed were back with a vengeance. I'm sorry, Miss Washington, the cardiologist explained. Your grandmother needs immediate surgery, but your insurance won't cover the procedure we recommend. There are less expensive options, but they carry higher risks. Kendra sat in the hospital waiting room, feeling more helpless than she had since her grandmother first got sick. She had been so proud of maintaining her independence after leaving Harrison. But now that independence felt like stubborn pride that might cost Rose her life. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. Have you seen the news? Victoria Sterling confessed everything. She's the one who destroyed your relationship with Harrison. With shaking fingers, Kendra opened the article Nicole had sent. As she read Victoria's confession, her emotions shifted from shock to anger to devastating regret. All the doubts she had harbored about herself, all the pain she had caused Harrison, all the love they had lost. It had been based on lies. Ms. Washington. A nurse approached her. There's someone here to see you. He says he's family. Kendra looked up to see Harrison walking toward her, his face a mixture of determination and tenderness. He carried a large envelope and wore the same expression he'd had the day they met, like a man on a mission. How did you know I was here? She asked, standing up. I called the clinic when I couldn't reach you. They told me about your grandmother. Kendra, I'm so sorry. Did you see the article? That's why I'm here. Well, part of why I'm here. He held up the envelope. This contains a full confession from Victoria, legal documents proving her manipulation, and a formal apology. I've also turned everything over to the police. Kendra sank back into her chair. All this time, I thought I was protecting us by staying away. I thought the criticism was justified. None of it was justified. You were the victim of a calculated campaign to destroy our relationship. I was so stupid, I let her win. You were protecting yourself and your grandmother from a situation that felt impossible. That's not stupid, Kendra, that's human. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of lost time and misunderstanding heavy between them. How is Rose? Harrison asked gently. She needs surgery, immediate surgery, but insurance won't cover the procedure she really needs. Kendra's voice broke. I'm going to lose her because I was too proud to accept your help. No, you're not. Harrison's voice was firm. I'm going to make some calls. Harrison, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. And this time, I'm not taking no for an answer. Within an hour, a team of the city's best cardiac surgeons had assembled to evaluate Rose's case. The head of cardiology personally reviewed her files and immediately scheduled the necessary procedure. How did you make this happen so fast? Kendra asked as they walked to Rose's room. I made a substantial donation to the hospital's research fund. It tends to expedite things. I can't keep letting you solve my problems with money. This isn't about money. Kendra, this is about family. And Rose is family to me because she's family to you. In the hospital room, Rose was awake and alert, though pale and connected to various monitors. Her face lit up when she saw Harrison enter with Kendra. "There's my boy," she said weakly. "I wondered when you'd come to your senses." "Mrs. Washington, I'm sorry it took me so long to get here." "You're here now, that's what matters." Rose looked between them. "You two look terrible. Have you been eating, sleeping?" "We've been apart." "Grandma," Kendra said, taking her grandmother's hand. "Apart? Why on earth would you be apart when you love each other?" "It's complicated," Kendra began. "Love is never complicated, baby girl. People make it complicated. Love itself is simple." Rose squeezed Kendra's hand. "I may not be around much longer." "Don't say that." "Hush, let me finish. I may not be around much longer. But I need to know you're not going to waste your life being afraid of happiness." Harrison stepped closer to the bed. "Mrs. Washington, I want you to know that I love your granddaughter more than anything in this world. I want to take care of both of you for the rest of my life." "I know you do, son. The question is whether Kendra is going to let you." All eyes turned to Kendra. She looked at her grandmother, fragile but determined. In the hospital bed, she looked at Harrison, the man who had dropped everything to be here when she needed him most. She thought about the months of loneliness, the pain of separation, the love that had never diminished despite all the obstacles. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared of your world, scared of the attention, scared of not being enough. And I'm scared of living without you," Harrison replied. "Scared of going back to the empty life I had before you showed me what love looks like." Rose smiled. "Fear is normal. Letting fear make your decisions for you isn't." The next morning, Rose's surgery was successful, as she recovered in the ICU, surrounded by the best medical care money could buy. Kendra and Harrison kept vigil together. "I owe you another apology," Kendra said during one of their quiet moments. "I should have trusted you." "Trusted us? You don't owe me anything. We both made mistakes. I want to try again if you'll have me." Harrison took her hand. "Kendra, I've been miserable without you. I'll take any chance you're willing to give us. Even if I'm still afraid sometimes, especially then we'll face the fears together." As they sat holding hands in the hospital corridor, both of them felt something they hadn't experienced in months. Hope Victoria's confession had cleared the air, but more importantly, they had found their way back to each other. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would still be media attention, still be people who questioned their relationship, still be challenges that came with bridging two different worlds. But they had something stronger than all of that: love that had survived separation, manipulation and doubt, love that had brought them back together when it mattered most. 6 months later, Mama Rose's Italian restaurant was decorated with white flowers and twinkling lights. The same tables where Harrison had first watched Kendra's courage were now filled with family and friends celebrating their engagement party. "I can't believe you chose this place," Kendra said, looking around the transformed restaurant where their love story had begun. "Where else would I propose to the woman who changed my life?" Harrison replied, adjusting his tie nervously. "Besides, Tony insisted on catering the whole thing for free. He's been planning the menu for weeks. I think he's more excited about this party than we are." The guest list was an interesting mix. Harrison's business associates mingling with Kendra's co-workers from the clinic, childhood friends from her neighborhood chatting with tech executives, Grandma Rose holding court from her wheelchair while dispensing relationship advice to anyone who would listen. "You know," Rose said to Victoria Sterling, who had surprisingly been invited to the party, "I was ready to dislike you intensely." Victoria shifted uncomfortably. "I wouldn't blame you if you did. What I did was unforgivable. What you did was human, jealous and misguided, but human. What matters is that you made it right." After Victoria's public confession, she had faced significant social and professional consequences. Several board positions had been revoked, business relationships had ended, and she had become a cautionary tale about the destructive power of jealousy. "I'm grateful you invited me tonight," Victoria said. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness." "Forgiveness isn't about deserving it," Rose replied. "It's about choosing love over anger. Kendra and Harrison chose love, so can the rest of us." Across the room, Harrison was deep in conversation with Detective Morrison, who had become an unexpected friend during the investigation into Victoria's actions. "Any word on Tommy?" Harrison asked. "He's doing great. Finished his GED. Started community college. His mother's health has improved significantly since she got proper medical care." "Good. I'm glad the clinic scholarship program worked out for him. You know, that young man asks about you and Kendra every time I see him. He credits both of you with saving his life." Tommy had indeed turned his life around. After refusing Victoria's money for negative stories about Kendra, he had accepted a scholarship to the clinic's education program. He was now studying to become a medical technician inspired by the care his mother had received. "Mr. Blake," Tommy himself appeared at Harrison's elbow, wearing a sharp suit and a confident smile. "I wanted to thank you again for everything." "You don't need to thank me, Tommy. You did the hard work. But you and Miss Kendra gave me the chance, and you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." As the evening progressed, Harrison found himself marveling at how naturally their two worlds had blended. His colleagues were genuinely interested in the clinic's work. Kendra's friends were asking thoughtful questions about technology and business. The barriers that had seemed so insurmountable a year ago had simply melted away when people focused on shared values rather than superficial differences. The moment everyone had been waiting for came when Harrison tapped his champagne glass and asked for attention. A year ago, I thought I knew what success looked like. He began looking directly at Kendra. I had money, recognition, influence, but I was missing the most important thing, someone to share it all with. He walked over to where Kendra stood, beautiful in a simple blue dress that matched the one she had worn to their first dinner together. When I met Kendra, she showed me what real courage looks like. Not the courage to make a risky business decision or give a difficult presentation, but the courage to show kindness in the face of danger. The courage to put others before yourself. The courage to love without reservation. Kendra felt tears forming in her eyes as Harrison dropped to one knee in the exact spot where she had first talked to Tommy. Kendra Washington, you have made me a better man. You've shown me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the depth of our connections to other people. You've taught me that home isn't a place, it's being with the person who sees the best in you, even when you can't see it yourself. He pulled out a ring box and the restaurant fell completely silent. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you and learning from you and building something beautiful together? Kendra looked down at the man who had seen her ordinary moment and found it extraordinary, who had supported her dreams, cared for her grandmother, and never asked her to be anyone other than exactly who she was. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, of course, yes. The restaurant erupted in cheers as Harrison slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her. It was a simple diamond, elegant, but not ostentatious, perfectly suited to a woman who valued substance over show. I love you, he murmured against her lips. I love you too. All of you, the businessman, the philanthropist, the man who makes terrible pancakes and argues with my grandmother about seasoning. Hey, my pancakes are getting better. They really aren't, Rose called out from across the room, making everyone laugh. As the party continued around them, Harrison and Kendra found a quiet moment on the small balcony behind the restaurant. Are you happy? He asked, watching the city lights twinkle below them. Happier than I ever thought possible. Are you complete? For the first time in my life, I feel complete, even though I'm still scared sometimes about the media, about fitting into your world, about whether I'm enough, especially because of that. Your fears keep you humble, keep you real. They're part of what I love about you. And you're not worried that people will always see us as the billionaire and the waitress. Let them. We know who we really are. Two people who found each other when we needed it most and chose to build something lasting together. 6 months later, their wedding was held in the same restaurant, transformed once again with flowers and candles and the love of everyone who mattered to them. Kendra wore her grandmother's pearls in a dress that made her feel like a queen. Harrison wore a smile that hadn't left his face since the day she said yes. Rose, walking with a cane but glowing with health and happiness, walked Kendra down the aisle. Tommy, now in his second year of college, served as one of Harrison's groomsmen. Victoria, fully forgiven and working to rebuild her life, helped coordinate the flowers. But what really mattered was this: are you the kind of person who believes that love can conquer any obstacle? That kindness changes everything? That the right person can see your worth even when the world tries to make you feel small? If you believe in love stories that prove ordinary people can live extraordinary lives, then you need to subscribe and share this story, because there are so many more like it waiting to be told. During the ceremony, as they exchanged vows they had written themselves, both Kendra and Harrison thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. The fear, the doubt, the manipulation, the separation, all of it had only made their love stronger. I promise to love you not in spite of our differences, but because of them, Kendra said. I promise to let you take care of me without losing myself, and to take care of you without changing who you are. I promise to share my world with you without asking you to abandon yours. Harrison replied, I promise to see you clearly every day, to value your strength, and to never take your love for granted. When they kissed as husband and wife, the entire restaurant stood and cheered. Outside, curious passers-by stopped to watch through the windows, drawn by the obvious joy radiating from the celebration. The photo that appeared in the society pages the next day showed a radiant couple surrounded by family and friends of every background and social level. The caption read, Love wins. Harrison Blake and Kendra Washington proved that the best love stories start with kindness. But the best part of their story wasn't captured in any photograph. It was what came after years of building a life together, growing the foundation's work, raising children who understood both privilege and responsibility, and never forgetting that the greatest wealth is the love you share with the people who matter most. And in a small apartment across town, Grandma Rose kept a scrapbook of their journey from the viral video that started it all to their wedding announcement. On the last page, she had written in her careful handwriting, True love doesn't erase the differences between people. It celebrates them and builds bridges strong enough to last forever. Their story became legend in their small corner of the world. Proof that courage comes in many forms, that love really can conquer fear, and that sometimes the most ordinary moments lead to the most extraordinary lives. Harrison kept his promise to share his world without asking Kendra to abandon hers. The foundation opened 50 more clinics over the next 5 years, each one staffed with people from the communities they served. Kendra completed her degree and became the foundation's director of education, developing programs that had helped thousands of adults finish their education and find meaningful work. Tommy graduated with honors and now manages 3 of the foundation's clinics. He never forgot the day a kind waitress saw him as a person instead of a threat, and he made sure every patient who walked through his doors felt the same recognition and care. And every year on their anniversary, Harrison and Kendra returned to table 12 at Mama Rose's for a quiet dinner, remembering the moment when everything changed because someone chose kindness over fear. Their love story proved that the best happily ever afters aren't about perfect people finding each other. They're about imperfect people choosing to love each other perfectly, one ordinary day at a